Salto Talks, podcast about innovation in business and beyond. Hosted by Piotr Nejman and Salto Strategies.
When we hit that 100 million mark, I was just like, imagine we have never, ever had like any money in the campaign, only cost actually. So we reached the results of the campaign now spreading to over 55 countries. Last year, it spread to over 100 million people without a single dollar in marketing. When he left us, it was extremely lonely, but the most beautiful part right now is that we have a global volunteer network of 30 people. I'm not alone. Like, we are doing this together.
Black Friday is really huge thing. Merged with Cyber Monday and all the pre-Christmas shopping time, and now it's like a month-long festival of shopping that finishes around end of December when people finally run out of money.
I strongly believe businesses that doesn't transition now will be completely irrelevant in 5 to 10 years. You know, they tell a story. They tell a story like the demand for what circular consumption is, for these solutions. It's out there, and it is just a matter of time before people will wake up to this.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Salto Talks, a podcast about innovation in business and beyond. This is a special episode because of many reasons. It's also first episode that's recorded in English, and it's targeted for a global audience because the topic we'll be covering today is super important. It's also special because for the first time, we'll be not talking about the innovation that helps us to grow faster, but about innovation that challenges how we think about growth in the first place. My guest today is Alexandra Davidsson. Hello, Alexandra.
Hi, nice to be here.
Alexandra is co-founder of Circular Monday, a largest campaign for circular consumption. And when I say large, is really large because last year it reached like more than 100 million people globally. So it's really large. Alexandra is also co-founder of Climate Hero and as well as speaker and consultant in topics of sustainability, circular economy, circular transformation. Hello again, Alexandra. I'm really happy we have finally the opportunity to talk together and uncover the topic of Circular Monday.
Yeah, me too. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And it's such an honor to be a guest in the Salto Talks podcast, truly.
I'm really happy. First of all, let's make a small disclaimer. I'm also involved in Circular Monday. I have a great honor to be a local representative, local, let's say, ambassador of Circular Monday in Poland. But maybe so that everyone listening understands what we are talking about. Let's start at the very beginning and explain what is actually Circular Monday. What are the origins? What was the initial, spark, insight?
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to share that. And we're so glad to have you as our face, representing our campaign as a spokesperson in Poland. So I'm truly grateful for our collaboration and for this talk. But okay, I will share you the background facts about Circular Monday. So Circular Monday was actually started in the fall of 2017 by a guy named Henning Gillberg. And the first 3 years, it was actually called something else. It wasn't called Circular Monday, it was called White Monday. And it was born in the southern part of Sweden when Henning, he was playing the opposite game of Black Friday. Because, Black Friday is perhaps the day that mostly symbolizes our overconsumption. Imagine the people, getting hurt by trying to fight about a TV because the price is so good, basically. So he was trying to play an opposite game with Black Friday. And, the opposite of linear economy is circular economy, opposite of black, white, Friday, Monday. So basically, he built a campaign that was called White Monday, and it always happens the Monday before Black Friday. And basically, what it did is he started to build a database in Sweden with companies or organizations and influencers that are providing circular products and services. Because, we all are consumers in today's society. Like, we need stuff, but maybe we don't have the time to find them. I mean, this is almost 10 years ago now. Almost have the time, not the time to find them, So we wanted to make it easy to do that. And in January in 2018, I called him. I said, at that point, I was working as a secretary general for a Swedish nonprofit called Responsible Consumption. And I called him and I said, hey, listen, I want to help you build this campaign. Let's do it together. And it took some time, but then he accepted my offer. So we started to build Circular Monday together. I said, like, we will take this global. I mean, like, one day we will read, like, in the history books that Circular Monday helped, like, say bye-bye to Black Friday. I mean, we dreamt big, like, truly big.
Yeah, truly big. That's for sure. Especially if you just focus, like, if you think about Black Friday, which is really like a huge phenomenon.
Yeah. At the first year, 30 companies and organizations, they joined the campaign. But I mean, it was over 100 the second year when we organized it, and it spread to Finland. And then within 3 years, it has spread like beyond the Nordic countries. And then we had to make a decision to actually change the name from White Monday to Circular Monday, because internationally, when you first heard the name, you could misunderstand what the campaign was about. It's not a race campaign. It was about circular consumption. So in 2020, we changed the name into Circular Monday to better reflect what the campaign is all about. And ever since, it has been growing and growing and growing. And like the nonprofit where I worked before, I've been doing this on my private time, but also, through different types of my jobs. Like earlier, it has been organizations like Responsible Consumption, CradleNet, helping to co-organize the campaign, dedicating efforts. And between 2023 to 2025, Climate Hero helped to organize it. And I mean, now in 2026, it will be the 10th edition when we organized it, and it has been like a lot of changes, but we have never, ever had like any money in the campaign, only cost actually. So we reached the results of the campaign now spreading to over 55 countries. We have a team of over 30 volunteers globally acting as spokespersons and ambassadors. And we have over 1,500 buddies. That is basically an organization, a company, or an influencer that has officially joined the campaign, like taking part of Circular Monday. And last year, it spread to over 100 million people without a single dollar in marketing.
Yeah, that's really remarkable that the campaign was not built by like corporates or great big organizations with deep pockets, big marketing budgets. It was all built through collaboration, like community dedication. The results are spectacular. And did you have any moment during the history when you see that that when you saw the traction and you thought like, wow, it's really growing, it's really working, it's spreading? Was there any moment it was like you feel that it grew organically like every year? Or is the moment like you said like, wow, it got a traction?
Now, there has been many moments, honestly. Like, even like from the beginning, me and Henning, we became close friends. We worked together so much on this campaign, also with other volunteers, etc. But I felt this will be huge from the beginning. I mean, that's why I called him. No, but like, I really am passionate about circular consumption and economy, and to creating circulants, a consumer that's doing everything but buying newly produced stuff. That is actually a word we launched a few years ago in Sweden. But there has been moments of deep grief in the campaign, and also, big hope. The funder, Henning Gilberg, unfortunately, he's no longer with us. And in 2022, he deceased, and he left the campaign to me. And, that was a really hard time. Like, that year, I could barely organize it. Like, it was, really tough. But then I started working with Climate Hero, co-founded that impact startup. And we decided to bring in the campaign, on a more scaling up professional level. And then, we extended the volunteer network. And ever since then, I would say, for each year after 2023, and during 2024 and 2025, when we really decentralized the campaign a bit, for each year, the results that we were hitting, like in 2024, it spread to over 40 million people, in reach. But the biggest moment was actually, this year, or in 2025. Like when we hit that 100 million mark, I was just like, imagine, if we only had like 1% of the marketing put into Black Friday. Imagine if we shifted that into Circular Monday. Like, there is a demand for these questions, for the spread. Like, the demand is there. And if we look with macroeconomics, like, what would happen if we had the resources? So I actually made a big change, like a really huge change after that. I decided to leave Climate Hero. I'm still there as the co-founder, but I'm not working in the company. And I decided Circular Monday could really be something. So I put everything on stake. I invested everything and just left my work. I have no income now, but I am trying to take the next step with Circular Monday to see if we can scale it
This
up.
year marks a huge transition in both for Circular Monday, for you personally. I would say you just you make your personal salto, and it's a
Yeah, tell
salto
me about that expression, please.
for Circular Monday, and like how you feel about it. Like this, like of course, like huge responsibility, but I think the campaign has a great traction, and it proved that it can attract a lot of people. Yeah, like when we meet on our global like meetups, connections, and I see like people from different countries, like from Austria, Romania, Italy, and they say like, yeah, I have an interest from TV. I was invited for a conversation. We are organizing some workshop. There is a huge interest in this model, and it's also very interesting because, as you said on the very beginning, like Black Friday is really huge thing. I mean, now it merged with Cyber Monday and all the pre-Christmas shopping time, and now it's like a month long, like a festival of shopping that finishes around end of December when people finally run out of money. And it's an important question, like how do you really deal with the Black Friday? So is it really a opposition? Is it a competition with Black Friday? Like, what you think?
I mean, like, it was born as the opposite, or actually the solution to Black Friday's overconsumption. And media likes to refer us, as the opposite campaign of Black Friday. And I mean, it's still there a little bit in our history. For the first years, participating companies, they weren't allowed to do anything on the Black Friday. But a few years ago, we took a decision because, like, we all live in the same society. We all, like companies, organization, everybody needs to survive. We live in the same economic system, and everybody needs to do this transition. So if we exclude and, oppose Black Friday and everything, we realize, okay, we need to make a strategic turn, into focusing on celebrating circular products and services and ways of living and consuming instead. I don't know if that answers your question a bit, but it's like, I mean, don't you feel like people are getting a bit like tired of Black Friday? Doesn't it feel like a bit unfresh and like outdated? Or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like this is what I feel like what I think, because like I think many people already ask themselves a question like, do we really need those things? Are those real promotions? Do I really need those stuff, or is it some kind of an impulse that drives me, to buy something? Of course, for economy, the whole period for businesses, this is a great commercial opportunity. Like December is really huge, and for consumers, the opportunities, sometimes the deals are often something nice as well. They can buy some discounted things, but I would
Should
say,
if you don't raise the price shortly before.
yeah, that's important. That's an important thing, and I think people start to notice that. That people start notice that is like both the promotions maybe are not, the offers are maybe not that exclusive, or they're not that special as they may seem to be. And on the other hand, like the people ask the question, do I really need it? And I think this is an important part, is what you said. So it's probably, as how I understand and how like interpret what you say, it's not really the competition for Black Friday, but
It's the
rather
solution. It's
it's
the
a solution.
solution,
Yeah, it's a
right?
solution. Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
You
It's a
remember,
solution.
I remember like a few years ago when I was interviewed in the morning sofa, like on national TV in Sweden. And this interviewer, it was during Circular Monday. And I don't know how many years ago it was, 8, 10, I don't know. And the interviewer, the journalist, he asked me, but oh, what did he say? Oh, he said, yeah, but consumption is needed for the growth. Do you have knowledge about that? He asked me. And then I was just saying, yes, of course, like I have knowledge about that. But, when we consume in a circular way, we buy everything that's not newly produced, like we buy secondhand, we rent, we swap or whatever. That also is consumption. That brings in, in Sweden, taxes. That brings, like, that is growth as well. And I feel like now, a few years later, of course, like we know that circular economy also equals growth. I do agree that, not indefinite growth is sustainable for, honestly, our planet. We act like we have 4, we have 1 planet, that's it. But a lot of things is changing. And again, I would like to highlight the results of this campaign. Like, imagine we reached these results completely in a nonprofit campaign, $0 in marketing, and it has spread to 58 countries, 1,500 partners, over to 108 million people globally. What would happen? Like, that says something, about the demand for this. What would happen if we actually focus on Circular Monday as a solution? Because circular products and services can still fill, the needs that people have when they need something. I mean, it could take a little bit more time to find the stuff that we need, yes, but it's becoming very much more accessible, digitally, physically, with different shops and organizations, etc.
Yeah. And talking about this circular business models and companies, we call them buddies. Yeah, the companies that represent and they utilize these circular strategies. There are different types of, they all prove that they can be profitable. Yeah, that's also very important, that they can hire people. There is a business model that's behind it. They represent different strategies based on, for instance, like repair, reuse, rent. So, is there any like a perfect body profile, or for people who may be listening and who maybe would like to join the campaign and think like, maybe do I fit to the profile, and am I the circular business?
Yeah. So we have a code of conduct, for businesses and organization who would like to join us as a body to officially join the campaign. And it's okay if you have newly produced stuff like in your section, but we would only highlight and link your circular products or services. So, for instance, big companies, big furniture companies, like IKEA, they have a section only with secondhand stuff, where they are reusing their stuff. And that is the only thing we would highlight. But we have big companies, but we have also these small actor startups, with really innovative ideas. Henning, he started his own repairing clothes company. It was called Repamera, the founder, Henning, where we could mend our clothes by sending them in, digitally online. You didn't have to go to this place. So there are many interesting companies and organizations that have joined the campaign, and we're proud of each and every one of them, of course. I would suggest, like, if you have a circular product or a service that you would then go into the website and apply, and then we will vet you. Like, we would check, because our code of conduct, it's built on the 12R principles of circular economy. But yeah, there are really cool stories with different companies. There's one company, unfortunately, it's been proven, like you said earlier, it's been proven that circular business models are profitable, but also a lot of them meet challenges. Like, a lot of them doesn't exist for a long time. I had like a favorite company that I actually discovered through Circular Monday. It was two sisters locally in Sweden, and they only hired women, like in Nepal and Asia, to they reused saris, saris, their dresses. And then they reused that fabric, only hired the women, and then made kimonos instead, like 100% like circular kimonos. And I bought myself one each year, but they unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. And I was thinking about, could you define a bit this? You had a term, salto. You are doing a salto now. Could you define that a bit?
Salto, it stands for change, for jumping from one place to another. It can be, but it can be also this acrobatic, figure, and for me, it was it was connected a lot with innovation. I mean, when you make a salto, you have to make a jump for a moment. You're in the air, you're not touching the ground, the solid ground, and you make something that from the outside may look spectacular, or like you see the results, like you say, wow, it happened. But there are a lot of preparations behind, and so this is for Salto. And I like sometimes, like I say, when I was also thinking about my personal story, like business story, and at some moment I made some changes, and when I was talking to someone asking for that, and say like, yeah, some people make changes, and I just made a salto, and it was a huge change, and this is also like your story, like, because currently, like, you changed everything, and you just quitted your job, and you start to develop like grow Circular Monday in a new formula, like so like what's your plan for the year?
Yeah, but honestly, okay, then I'm really doing a salto, because honestly, my life is so uncertain and upside down. I'm investing everything because I believe in it so much. But to be honest, I have a little bit of savings, and I can manage for just a few months. That's it. Like, and then I don't know what I will do or what will happen, but I am really focusing hard right now, and I'm almost finished. I'm not really finished, but I'm very finished. I'm soon finished, with the vision, the next step for Circular Monday, where we could go if we had funding in this stage, or funding in this stage, or funding in this stage. Because Circular Monday grew, to such a big campaign, and like, it takes a lot of time, to organize it. So it needs to be, it needs to grow, it needs to scale, from just a moment to a movement. Like, it really needs to take that next step. So that's where I am right now. I'm having a few conversations. Like, we are open to finding a new long-term home for the campaign. We are open to talk with investors. We're open to finding many different small contributors as sponsors. Like, we are really doing a lot of mapping and researching at the moment. But Circular Monday is in a transition, but there is no question that it will happen. Like, it will happen regardless of will I make it to trying to secure the next chapter or not. Like, that doesn't matter. Circular Monday will happen anyway. So we will see. Like, but really is Salto because at the same time, I haven't felt more at trust or more at like I know this is the right path, but at the same time, I've never found myself in a situation like out of a job, or I'm not out of a job, but I'm out of a paid income
Yeah.
at least, you know.
Some people define it as a job,
Yeah, but I'm still working, all of the time, but like out of a secure income source. But I have so much trust. Like, I believe in this so hard. And as I said, like me and Henning, we got very close and he entrusted the campaign to me. So the campaign for me is, it's extremely personal too. I feel like I want to, and I want to honor him, to try to take it to the next step. Maybe I will succeed or maybe not, but if and when I walk away, like from the campaign, or if we sell it or whatever, I don't know. But if and when I do that, I know that, I did everything I could to make it survive. And the most beautiful part right now is that when he left us, it was extremely lonely. But the most beautiful part right now is that we have a global volunteer network of 30 people. Like, I'm not alone. Like, we are doing this together. Like, we are creating this together. Like, you are running the campaign in Poland. Like, you are the face outward for the Circular Monday campaign in Poland. Like, we're not alone.
Currently, like this year, it was also like this year and last year, it was also characteristic that we had to sometimes book, or you had to book double meetings, because
Yeah.
sometimes it was very difficult to meet with everyone because of different time zones and locations. Yeah, but this what you say, I think it's also representing some great opportunity for company organization that would like to support Circular Monday, because as we said, it's recognizable initiative. It has a great audience, publicity, like people are attracted to the whole idea. And there are influences in many countries that promote circular, sustainable consumption. And there are also businesses like smaller companies, bigger companies. Uh, So it proves that it's an important thing. So if maybe like someone who's listening us now, maybe say like, yeah, I want, this is a one-time opportunity, and maybe I would like to, yeah, mate. So I just we invite, of course, everyone to call Alexandra and say like, we are with you.
Yeah.
So it's definitely the moment. We also said like there are because we are talking about circular consumption. It's also interesting that circularity in general is growing in popularity globally. Like the term circularity is more about resources than about waste. I think people already start to understand it, maybe not understand it, because I think it was circular economy for a long time was hijacked by recycling, and it was like it stick together for a too long time, and it's so much about resources. Do you have any like your personal definition or let's say image of circular economy or characteristic, how you describe it when you talk to
Mm.
people, when you talk to businesses, like what you say about circularity?
Like, I love the simplicity how Henning expressed it, and that was like circular economy is an economy without waste, but it's not only about waste. I define circular economy as it's about designing out the waste, keeping products and materials in use at their highest possible value for as long time as possible. And reducing the need for virgin extraction. Like, we have to take care of the resources that we already got. And, that includes reuse, repair, refurbishment, remanufacturing, sharing, and, not only like after we've done all of that, then we have it as the last step, to recycle. And I also think like a serious circular economy, it must, regenerate the nature, not just manage, what you said, waste better. Like, it's about much more than that. And that is, the formulation that is aligned with European Commission, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, Yeah, God, I can talk a lot.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah,
to
but it's like,
stop.
yeah, like, because of course, technologies in recycling are developing very fast, and it's a very interesting and also important part of the whole, picture. But I have a saying, I have a sentence that I've used probably like 100 times, because it's I meet this situation a lot. It's like we sit with people, for instance, on workshop, on some project around circular economy. People say, so let's think what we can do with the waste. And I always say, like, I'm really love your heroic battle for this for working with this waste, but actually we are working on the problems that you are working on, the problems you have created yourselves.
Wow. Yeah.
And I say, like, maybe let's think about how to avoid having that problem in the first place. And then finally we can see, what because it's a little bit like with the bureaucracy. I mean, people say, like, bureaucracy creates bureaucracy, and then tries to fight and solve the problem they have already created, some other bureaucratic problems that it was created. And I think with the production and with waste, it's a very similar situation. I mean, like, talking about the end and the waste, the recycling, we are talking about the problem that we have created, and we are super innovative in production, in creating that waste. Yeah, I mean, this is characteristic. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say, for me, circular economy is a lot about innovation, and about, I would even say, I like, what is interesting for me in circular economy is that it creates constraints. Yeah. So what is important for me is that when you have no constraints, both in business and arts, you cannot really create anything that's valuable. Like, result of your work is really average. But this creates some nice, interesting constraints that give you the boost of innovation. And there are also a lot of super interesting companies, as we mentioned, from the bodies and interesting business models. And do you have any, like, your other currently favorite business models, that something that surprised you a lot from the database of the bodies?
That's a great question. I mean, I get inspired like all of the time, when new bodies enter. But there was this super cool company, that I even didn't know that this could be done. But there was this super cool company just joining like a few months ago, and they are like reusing old paint. So we can use it again, dried paint, and then reusing it. And I had no idea you can do that. But I mean, like, circular economy is really, it's in many ways, it's a driver of innovation, because it's like when you think about, okay, we need to fix a problem here, then you come up with new solutions, and then you start to think creative. But I think that's pretty cool. But as far as a business model, if there is a business model I prefer, I invented together with the nonprofit responsible consumption a new word for being the future consumer, and that is the circulant.
Yeah, it's a nice word, actually. I think it should be more popular.
Yeah, And it's interesting that you say that, because in this year's communication of Circular Monday in 2026, we will use that word even more. Like in Sweden, it's already an official word, like in the word list, the academic word list, And it has been for a few years, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, going back to a business model that I really do like, and like being a circulant, you're doing everything but buy newly produced stuff. But I like, that we are starting to challenge ourselves. Like, do we have to be the owner of everything? Could we rent more stuff? Like, I hold a lecture somewhere, or I'm going to like a sustainability gala. I don't need to buy a new dress. I can just rent a dress. I really love that business model, because people listen, we get tired of the clothes that we have. I keep my clothes for a decade at least, but it's nice changing it up. This jacket I bought from a business acquaintance. She put out on her Instagram like, hey, I'm selling this. And I was just like, ooh, that one I want. But, challenge ourselves to not be owners. I'm all over the place right now, but did I make a clear point here?
Yeah, it's the whole model, which is like a product as a service, for instance. Like, it's a super interesting model, and it's very innovative model, and it can work on different levels. Like even like sharing things with your neighbors, and just up to large companies or bigger companies that rent electronics, for instance. We have a company in our database, a buddy from Poland.
Is that your favorite one? Like the one that you are impressed by the most?
In general, I am very, very inspired by product as a service model. I like it. I like to work with this company, this type of companies. I think it's very inspiring. The whole idea that, because it's first of all, is that you don't have to you utilize the product. So many people can use it. You don't have to produce it many times. But it's also interesting that in the product as a service model, you still have ownership of the product. And if you're, especially if you're a producer, there are companies, for instance, that sell light as a service. Yeah, they'll like for factories, for offices, and you still become the owner of these light bulbs. There are no light bulbs, but LED, probably this lightning. You can design it in a way that you can then repair it. You can use the resources from it. You have a completely different approach for designing, for manufacturing of this equipment. What is it? I have one buddy that actually the company that blew my mind. Like, when I heard the concept, I thought like why it was not my idea. It's so simple. In practice, I'm not really sure if I would like to do it, because it's not an easy model. But there is a company from Poland. There are also companies in different countries as well. They operate in a similar model. Like, what they do is they buy used but quite like new paper or cardboard packaging boxes from, for instance, factories. When they buy their things, like from other manufacturers, some equipment, it comes to their factory in card boxes, and they never use it. They are super clean, they are beautiful. And what they do is this company, this small company, they have a network of partners, and they just buy this card boxes, the big boxes that can be used as a packaging. Yeah. And they sell it to e-commerce companies. Because, for instance, if you just, I thought like, it's good. When you for instance, when you sell cosmetics, for instance, you probably would like to have a beautiful boxes with some logo. But if you sell, I don't know, things for gardening or car parts, like, nobody cares about beautiful box. You just need a box.
Yeah.
And the box. This was so incredible business model. I thought, like, they are selling used boxes in a huge number, and it was very, very, very inspiring for me, because it's that simple. They're not even need any sophisticated equipment for that, but you can build a company. There are people working there. Everyone is happy with that model. It was really, really interesting for me.
Yeah. That's so cool. That remind me, like, I think it was in 2017, 2018. We had like a similar company, but with moving boxes. Like he
Okay.
made a business,
Yeah.
with the moving boxes. It was called, I think it was called Reeboks. Like it was active for a few years, but I also heard about that, and then you feel like, why don't I come up with that? But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so cool.
Like many circular business models are super simple. Yeah, of course there are companies like especially closer to recycling that use like a lot of technology, a lot of science to produce or to transform the products. But there are a lot of interesting products here as well. So if you like, if someone is some company is listening to us and would like to join also, and I think if you think that you have a circular business model, you can just also, like, there's a form on the website, so you can
Mhm.
join the movement. And but the circular economy is very difficult to scale. Yeah, I think that's a challenge very often, and
Mm.
especially when you're established business, like when you have conversation, because you work with also big companies, like you are a speaker, you consult, you meet a lot for the Circular Monday. When you talk to bigger companies, do you see that the interest in circular economy grows, and there's an understanding? What's your feeling? Because
Mm.
like it's not easy to change when you are that big, like for instance IKEA that you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. Like I've been working in this field for over a decade now, and I definitely see, that it has gone. Basically, in 2018, it went up here. And then a couple of years ago, 2, 3 years ago, it went here. And now I see it goes like this. Either they see the value in circular economy, because money talks. Like it's all about value. Like, can we find new revenue streams? So if you speak to them in that sense, then they listen. So right now I see this. No, it's not a trend. Like, I don't like to use that word, but I don't come up with anything better now in English. But I see that, like, you have to speak business, you have to speak revenue, you have to like try to help them to see alternative revenue streams, because businesses, yeah, we want to survive, and I strongly believe businesses that doesn't transition now they will be irrelevant in 5 to 10 years. Like we can see it also, in polls within generations, like people are asking for more sustainable options. But then I also at the moment see a much more worrisome direction. And it's like people stop talking about sustainability. They stop talking about circular economy. Like I don't know if it has to do with the green claims, so the political climate change, or yeah, the changes in the political climate, etc. But I also see that direction happening. But again, like when it comes to that, it's like, yeah, but the fact is clear. We have one planet with limited resources. We have to take care of the resources that we got, and we'd rather do it sooner than later. Like it's not really a choice. It's still a matter of business. It's still a matter of survival of businesses and the society that we live in.
Mhm.
That's what I see. But I'm curious, like, what are your takes on this? Do you see the same or?
Yeah, definitely. Like I personally, I believe that that the business has to be sustainable in these two ways. I mean, it's sustainable in terms of environment,
Mm.
which is like for me, it's like it was always about responsibility of me as a designer, entrepreneur, whatever. Like it's quite a lot also about rationality. I mean,
Mm.
like when I see, like when we have to buy things, even for the office, like buy things and throw out things, like for me it's such a waste of money, and it's just not rational. I know, but um so one thing is the sustainability in terms of environment, and the second part is sustainability in terms of business model. I mean, business has to be sustainable, like find new revenue streams, find new business business models, look for new segments of clients, be aligned with the needs of the client. So that's also important. My perspective, like I'm also around like a decade, maybe a little bit less, in circular economy. I think the first event I've organized around circular economy was in 2018, so it's like 8 years. But I think at the very beginning, we're talking about circular economy. It was very much about recycling, about waste. Then we moved to optimization because the prices were high, the energy was expensive, and we're talking a lot about optimization. And I thought, like, okay, the next step, the awareness is high. Maybe we will switch into thinking about how we deliver the value to the client. Can I get the value as a consumer in a different way? But I am a little bit, I don't know if disappointed is a good word, but the trend, I think people are a little bit now tired with ESG, with the reporting regulations. And I think of course, there are a lot of advantages and great things happen because of that. Even the whole conversation about reporting, about showing your numbers, showing your initiatives, being comparable to other companies and your company year to year. On the other hand, so like I see a lot of companies are not thinking about circular economy as an opportunity, as
Or a solution also.
a solution, but they're thinking about some regulations. And I think it went this wrong way, the second way, as you said. I don't know what is your view on that, on the regulation part? Because now the green, the green part of the business, like let's call it like this, the sustainability is so regulated. Like I have a legal background. I graduated in law, but even for me, it's so difficult to understand all regulations. And I am not really sure if if most of the people who are involved in that, they can capture even all this, the whole complexity of these regulations.
Yeah, it's hard, and I understand that creates fear as well. And that's why it's so important. I also see like companies are cutting down on communications personnel or their sustainability directors, etc. And I would say that's the worst decision they can make, especially in these times when there are so many regulations around sustainability, because you really need to make sure that you are communicating in a way that doesn't break any regulations or laws, etc. But I can also see the benefit of that, because like a quick and easy way, basically, like a quick and easy way, but yeah, a quick and easy way to make sure that you are actually communicating, for instance, in a sense that is okay by the rules, by the regulatory rules, is that back your claims with facts. And
that's important.
yeah, that's important. But that could mean like, you are using a third party to verify your numbers, for instance. And the benefit of that is, that increases the businesses for many small or medium-sized companies, working in this sector, to increase, for them to grow. So there are pros and cons with this, yes. I think the wrong direction to take is to quit talking or communicated about it at all. It's a bit worrisome. I do hope that is temporary. And if not, I will keep on doing everything I can to make sure it's not. And of course, focusing on Circular Monday this year, because again, like I'm so struck by the results. Like we managed to do these results without a single dollar, like in marketing. Like it's only costs connected to the campaign. No income yet or anything like that. It's a nonprofit campaign. Like it's not connected to any company or organization anymore. It stands on its own legs. It's independent. But these results, they tell a story. They tell a story, like the demand for what we are offering, for what circular consumption is, for these solutions. It's out there, and it is just a matter of time before people will wake up to this. That's my two stakes in this.
Yeah. So it's good to switch your thinking from like how to navigate through regulations to how to really make those things that consumers already want.
Yeah.
There are opportunities on the market. And this is what I meant by my like previous
Yeah. With the value.
with what I said previously about the regulations. Like
Sorry.
they made a great job in making things comparable, in building internal capabilities in companies, internal teams, internal, systems, gathering the data. And I think it creates a great background now for moving into creating the value, because now you just understand the ecosystem. You have a great people inside or outside who can understand it, and you do not operate on some superficial level. You can start to talk about the value. That's why I said, like, okay, we started with this waste recycling, then we gradually we're thinking about optimization. Now it's a third part, like delivering the value. We have legal framework, we have people inside companies, and this is also very important. Like, do you have any tips for big companies how to start their journey for circularity, like rethinking their business model or their products?
Yeah. I think many companies have more opportunities than they realize. And it's really about, changing the perspective or look at it from a different viewpoint. Either you can bring in like a consultant, or you can bring in like a lecturer or something to, just either have a workshop. That would be the very best, because through a workshop, it's rare that people take the time to actually, with their key personnel, to have a workshop where you actually get help to shift this perspective of what you already have. Like, it could very well, like, it's not uncommon when I lead this workshop that leaders in companies realize, but oh shit, we actually have circularity already within our business model, or we're very close to having it. We could put like a renting opportunity here, or a repair model. It's really about taking the time to talk, to communicate with key personnel, like in your company. It's very easy, just to work day to day. So yeah, my tips is do that. Do that. And if you're not willing to do that, just do a quick research about, okay, what are the 12R principles? And then think for 3 things that is possible for your company to do, and then like bring it up yourself.
Mhm.
But challenge the thought of doing everything as we have always done it. And then challenge yourself, okay, how can I bring in more value that is based on a win-win-win perspective? Win for my company, so I survive for a long time. Win for the consumers, so we create this value of what it's needed, and also the win for the planet.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying.
I have very similar observations that companies often they don't even recognize what they already have in their company, the low hanging fruit, like super low hanging fruit, like they are just in front of them. And growing the awareness around circular economy works really best. It's also important aspect of the Circular Monday, yeah? Because like there are two types audiences. Like one of them is consumers, because they are normally targeted by this Black Friday communication around sales. So here, the communication is more about habits, about shopping decisions, but there's still a big number of businesses that we target. Yeah, it's also important for Circular Monday to target those businesses and show these different ways of managing your company, of delivering value to clients. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And you're so right in this. And we have like a vast network with this knowledge within Circular Monday. And that's also what's so super exciting. I will not spill too much like in the future vision plans, but that is so exciting. And I was thinking, like, when you talked, I was reading, a report from Sitra in Finland. It was like it's a few years old now, but this one really got stuck to me. They did a future scenario of which jobs and which jobs that could be created on the European market with the circular economy. And one of these jobs were a resource agent, like a real estate agent, but for
Okay.
resources,
Okay.
to try to help companies, find the resources that they need. And I was just like, wow, this is also something that could be, a source of a drive to change, because
Mhm.
your business ideas or your business model could actually create new jobs. And one thing that I hear a lot when I'm out holding a lecture is like, companies, they have this product or material as a spill, but they don't know what to do with this. And then another company want this. That's the beauty of workshops, because what's actually happening in the workshops is that you are becoming like a resource agent. And I would
Mhm.
like to see more jobs as a resource agent. Imagine the networking and how fun that would be. Like, and I think that would solve a lot of solutions for companies too, because it's all about, it happens within communication that you are finding the connections and the solutions. And tying that back to what we said earlier, is like really strongly advise companies to not prioritize down communication because
Yeah.
that's a huge part of your business model or
Yeah,
your business
definitely.
future.
Yeah, like circular economy is a lot about collaboration, like networks, clusters, and also this matchmaking in terms of resources. I like the name of the like profession, like a resource agent. Like I always look at people when I carry workshops. I always look at people when I say about urban mining, and they say like what this guy is talking about, like what can we be mining in the city. And it's like, there are a lot of resources here. There are materials, there are like cables, there's all the equipment and like a lot of things, and you can be kind of a miner here, but of course they are not underground all the time. So this resource agent seems very good. It's like scouting for resources. Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool. And before we end, like, I know you touched upon this earlier, but this thought, has been not nagging me, but it's been coming back in my mind because you were like briefly touched upon it, like, I don't know, half an hour ago. But you were saying this thing, with circular economy and growth. Like, businesses cannot grow or scale too fast or too much. Like, could you elaborate a bit about that?
what I meant by that is that it's much harder to scale like labor work, because a lot of companies around circular economy are, for instance, around repair, reuse. So it's hard to scale because, for instance, the production, the real economy kicks in when you have a mass production. It's then you have a profit, and it's easy to scale in this way. And a lot of these circular businesses are harder in that terms. You have to really think about your operation, about your model, about your value, because it's harder in these terms that you cannot produce it in a mass way. And
Yeah.
that's why I said like it is a little bit like a challenge for circular economy, that in these terms like recycling is much easier to scale because you have a recycling plant and a factory, and you can recycle plastics on a scale, and the more you recycle, the more money you get. And here sometimes it's harder for those businesses because they are labor intensive. Yeah, they need to. But on the other hand, like what you touched with this Citra, like I'm a fan of Citra. I had a conversation. I organized like a webinar with Citra. I don't know,
Really?
it was on the very beginning of my journey with circular economy, and he said about different professions. It's also important because we are talking that AI will just take our job. that take out jobs, that there will be a lot of jobs disappearing because of AI. And this is very true because a lot of our work is going to be automated. But still, as long as we exist in a physical way, we will need a lot of physical goods and services and people around us. I think circular economy is, creating these labor intensive, in that terms, professions, organizations. It's also an opportunity to make, things that are valuable in terms of something good for people, for environment, but also for us as a human, as a workers.
Yeah. Because I totally agree, because circular economy, it really sits like in the interface of resilience, competitiveness, and affordability, and the planet, the climate. Like, it's in the intersection of all of that, and that's what's making it so exciting. And that's why, for me, it is a solution, because the risk for me is that we're focusing on what doesn't work instead of what is working. I live by my favorite motto. My favorite motto or saying is like, why follow the stream when we can create the wave? Or like, why follow the current when we can create the wave, Like, and that's really what Circular Monday was built about. That's what I told Henning, when I approached him all of these years ago. Like, we will make Black Friday, as we were talking about then, go back, like, in the history books. They will read about it. Like, if we have that vision, if we are thinking about the possibilities, and that circular economy really is in the intersection of all of this, resilience, competitiveness, the planet, etc., it would be super interesting what positive effects, by effects, like that comes from it. So yeah, I'm really an eternal optimist. And yes, I do agree that growth can be challenging in some circular business model. Like, yes, it could be challenging because it's built, on local and collaborations, but I do really think we need that in the world, especially in terms of resilience perspective. But now I lost my thread. I don't know where I was.
Yeah. But what I think is also interesting is that I see the growing popularity, the growing interest in the circular business model around founders, like startup founders. It became popular. There are even VC funds that invest in those kind of sustainable or circular ideas. And I think it's also very important. And there should be some platform, let's say, to support those. Like, I think, and I believe that Circular Monday is also the platform to support those companies, because we give them the recognition, let's say, and the audience. Yeah. But do you think it may be an interesting model for a new founder, not to go deep into technology, building blockchain solution or something, but something that has a circle, or maybe with a blockchain actually, to have this circular background, circular business model?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I think it's really important to not only treat circularity as a communications layer, but as a business design challenge, and to build your business model on that. That's what I think is really, yeah.
Okay, before we finish, is there anything we should wish you for the next year, or like have any maybe great of course we talked a little bit about the transition, and do you have any great plans or goals ahead for Circular Monday?
One of the goals is, and this will happen, Circular Monday will happen on the 23rd of November in 2026. It will be organized for its 10th edition. I sincerely hope that I manage with my Salto, to take
You will.
yeah, to take the next step, finding the long-term solution for the campaign Circular Monday. And also, before finishing this podcast, I realized I forgot to explain what Circular Monday is. So I will take that now. So Circular Monday is a campaign for circular solutions. It is happening every Monday before Black Friday each year, this year, the 23rd of November. And it's both a database where circulants or consumers can find circular products or services or influencers working with this. But it is also a social media campaign where, all of our buddies on the same day goes out with a message around circularity. And that in itself helped to create the awareness for circular consumption. So please, if you're a company listening, you're interested in joining as a buddy, go to our website. If you're an investor, a company, or an organization, or a really cool person that would like to know a bit more about the transition about Circular Monday, holla at me. Let's have a coffee or a meeting. It doesn't have to be harder than that. Or if you're spokespersons, like if you are passionate about circular consumption and economy, and you would like to be part of the local team in your country within this campaign, please contact us. And all of you are so welcome.
It's true that we started with Circular Monday. We will explain it a little bit, but it's maybe because we understand it and we just spend some time every week, month on Circular Mondays that we think. But still, we'll just see how many people reach the end of the podcast, and if not, I'm really sure that people will, Google it or just browse the internet. I hope, of course, that everyone reached this final moment of our conversation, and I really invite you to check the website circularmonday.com. There is a database of buddies. There is everything explained. There are interesting materials to download, the information about local events, workshops, and everything that's happening. This year, Circular Monday will be the 23rd of November 2026. There is still some time to join the initiative, think about how you can involve. There are still some white places on the map. So if you would like to join as a local ambassador, I think Alexandra would be happy to talk to you, as well as buddies. As we said, there's a great opportunity to join Circular Monday as a partner and to support the next level of Circular Monday after this current Salto. I'm really happy, Alexandra, that we had this conversation today.
Me as well.
Thank you very much for being here. I'm really, finger crossed that this Salto, that everything that you personally and the initiative will land safely on the ground. And I think this 100 million people, which is will sit and look back and see that this number grew 2-3 years after. So thank you very much again for our conversation.
Thank you so much for having me and inviting me. And great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.